Hey everybody, this is Winter Tempest, and thank you for joining me on my first Satisfactory video. This is actually a base review of my first factory that I made in this game. So far I've put in about 1,000 hours into this factory, so it's a pretty neat little base. It's not really fancy, it's more like a bunch of random parts and stuff, random factories making things, but overall, I'm pretty proud of it, and it does its thing. So I'm gonna go over basically what I have built here so far, but I'm planning to go through a second playthrough later on. And this is my turbo motor factory, and it's just a manufacturer making turbo motors. And so I've got everything centralized in this base here. This one makes the radio control units for the turbo motors, and that makes the crystal oscillators for the radio control units. So basically I've got everything centralized in this base area here. This is the nuclear refinery. This one takes sulfur, makes into sulfuric acid with water. This one takes uranium and sulfuric acid, makes into uranium pellets. These encase the uranium pellets in concrete and makes them into encased uranium cells. And that one's making the same stuff. And this one makes the nuclear fuel rods for the nuclear reactors I have powering the base. And so over here I have my aluminum processing plant, and it takes bauxite, mixes it with water, makes the alumina solution. Then it takes petroleum coke and mixes it with the alumina solution and turns into aluminum scrap, which gets turned into ingots by the furnaces back there. So everything's going pretty well, and they're just pumping it out. Right now I don't have enough silica because I didn't go on a silica run, but it gets turned into the aluminum ingots once it's mixed with the silica. And so over here I have my little 3 Mile island. It's my combination oil production facility and nuclear power plants. Those are the 3 nuclear towers over there. They take the nuclear fuel rods that are made by the manufacturer and they turn into electricity by boiling water. So I've got all of those running at full capacity. That one has a little bit of nuclear waste, but that's because I haven't dumped out the waste yet. And up here we have the oil refinery, which is a pretty big facility here. It's split into 4 groups, and this one turns crude oil into rubber and heavy oil residue, and that one's doing the same thing. Now these turn the heavy oil residue and packaged water into diluted fuel, and the fuel is mixed with rubber to make plastic, and those are manufactured by the constructors there to make empty canisters, which are then sent off either to the awesome sinks or to storage facilities. And so next up is the main hub of my base, which is the manufacturing lines. And they're making, over here I'm making the steel parts from iron and coal, and those all get sent into those storage containers. As you can see, I've got a couple of steel beams, steel pipes, encased steel beams, things like that stored up. And usually I just send those into the awesome sink to just get rid of them because I don't use them for a lot of things. Except for the motors, making the turbo motors, of course. And yeah, Satisfactory has an autosave feature which pauses the game for about 5 seconds every hour or so, but it's important to keep your progress because if you don't save, then you can lose a lot. And over there are my copper mills. They're making copper plating and making cables, things like that. And that's just another one of my iron manufacturing plants. I've got three main areas of iron, but it's been able to keep up with the demand that I've had for the parts. And this is my concrete factory. I've got two production lines, and they just make concrete. And some of it gets sent over to this area where it gets turned to the encased industrial beams. And so I've got, again, this is my steel line, and it's just producing all of the steel parts that I need for the motors and stuff. But yeah, it's a humble factory. It's not huge. It's not extravagant. It's not well designed. It's basically just a bunch of production lines running parts through. And so back here at my base, I've got a truck station that I use for delivering coal up to the steel processing facility. And those trucks come in every now and then. They're nuclear powered, so I don't have to worry about keeping them fueled up. But sometimes they do flip over. The vehicles can be a little unreliable in this game. If you're using wheeled vehicles, if you use a train, then they all stay on track. But right now I have 131 coupons, and I'm thinking to end this base on a big hurrah. I'm just going to dump all these turbo motors and radio control units that I built up into these sinks. And as you can see, they're making quite a few coupons. And with all these coupons, well, it's not enough for a Go Nuts statue, but I figure, well, it's the best way to end the base, just smashing all the stuff I built up over several weeks at least. Yeah, my production is relatively slow, but it's because I haven't really expanded out into a map. But I'm hoping with my next Satisfactory playthrough, I'm going to be able to use those new mods I've installed. I haven't used them yet, but I figured I'm going to do a video on a modded playthrough of Satisfactory. So I'm just going to take a couple of these turbo motors here and move them to the other awesome sink so they can get the last bit of coupons even faster. But yeah, I'm not going to keep riding the space. I figure after 1,000 years, I'm sorry, not years, hours sunk into it, I figure I'm just going to let it go and start fresh with the new mods installed. So I got one of them. It's the Satisfactory 100 milestones mod, and I'm not sure how it's going to play out, but I'm really excited to try it. And overall, I think I've done pretty well on this factory. So stick with me, and we'll see how this next playthrough goes. So thanks for watching, and have a good one.